Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Southport Whisky Club. It's a very cold December, and we have got six cracking drams tonight. And we've got one of my favourite people to talk about whisky on as well. Um, so, welcome to Mr. Paul Main. How are you, Paul?
I'm really good, Victor. Thanks for the invite. It feels ages since we've caught up, and delighted to be here. I'm rather saddened though when I look around the screens. You've got a right bunch of misfits here with some of the people here. I see Alan and Jason. I'm like, goodness gracious. I wish it was a long time since I saw them again. Only
Yeah,
kidding, guys. Good to see you both. I hope
it
you
just
are you
it
both
just
at
keeps
Kendal at
coming.
the weekend? Alan's giving a thumbs up. Jason, you at Kendal
Yeah,
with your
yeah, we'll be
your lovely better
at the
half?
festival. Yeah, we're on the Saturday afternoon, so
Yeah, good. Look forward to seeing you both. Look forward
Yeah,
to seeing you
see,
great.
both.
see you there, mate.
Excellent. Well, we're there as well. Me and Peter are there, and I think we're bringing Dan along if he's allowed out. So it'll be a nice wee gathering in Kendal for the weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good,
will be.
good one.
So, right, let's get started, Paul. I think we've got an excellent lineup. So, what we're going to do, the Tamdhu first.
Yeah, it's a really good lineup, I think, especially for this time of year with the kind of darker nights. I think more areas will tend to drink peated and maybe sherried and wined whiskey at this time of year. There's a really nice kind of bourbon dram in there as well, or two actually, but we've got a really good nice lineup, Victor. So fair play to you, Victor. It was me that made some suggestions, but it was you that made the choices. So I'll give you all the credit for. If it goes well, you got all the credit, and if it goes really badly, you can blame me. How's that for a deal?
Well, I actually think we're going to be okay, but I did
Yeah,
just
so
use
did I.
all
So
let's
did I.
just use all the whiskies I fancy drinking. So that's how it worked.
Listen, the first, obviously, we're doing a bit of Hunter Laing here tonight, and there'll be a wee bit of Ardnahoe as well. And for those that are going to be at Kendal on Friday and Saturday, it'll be the exact same thing. There's a couple of drams we're going to have tonight will be on the table at Kendal as well. And I'll maybe speak about what else we've got at Kendal and stuff that's under the table that you can ask for as well. But the first two drams we're going to have tonight are both from Ian MacLeod Distillers, which the Laing family have had a long relationship with. When you think about Tamdhu and Glengoyne, you'll see quite a few companies doing independent bottles of Tamdhu, but very few that do Glengoyne. And every year we'll bring out one, two, sometimes three different versions of Tamdhu and Glengoyne, either in old malt cask range at 50% or in the first editions range at cask strength. So we're going to start off tonight. And I've not got visual aids here, Victor, so help me out with some
Well,
visual
these are my
aids.
visual aids. Somebody left them
Um,
in the mash about 6 weeks, 6 months ago, and I keep they saved
the
me.
post office let us down with some of the drams. And guys, I just get back for holiday this morning at about 11:45, so I've not had a chance to get to the office and bring some of the bottles in. So we're starting off with single cask, 16-year-old Tamdhu, um, great whiskey. Has been for a long number of years. Blenders love to use it as a single malt. It's always fantastic. This is from a Pedro Jimenez cask. So you're getting Tamdhu in Pedro Jimenez rather than Oloroso. There's only 319 bottles of this, and most of these will be familiar with that old malt cask range. Almost always bottled at 50%. There's some very small exceptions to that. And I just think it's a great whiskey. It's an unusual whiskey to start a tasting with. It's the type of whiskey I would maybe have with a dessert or end of a meal. I'm not a cigar smoker, but I would imagine it would go really well with a cigar as well. It would definitely go with a dessert, and it's definitely towards the end of the night whiskey. But for me, it is a good whiskey to start the night with, because if that's your baseline and that's your calibrator for the night, it's a sign of a really good night. So, Alan, you look as if you've got reading your body language is normally quite easy to read. I think I could play you at poker and beat you all right. You look as if you're enjoying that one, okay?
Yes, it's quite nice. That quite palatable.
Yeah, and it's an unusual colour as well, because I think it doesn't, from a memory of it, I don't have it here, but it doesn't stick out as coming from a sherry cask. I think when I've got this in the stands, you sometimes think, looking at it, it could be from a bourbon cask. So I think it's been a well used PX cask, maybe third or fourth fill. But my memory of it is that you still get that spicy, fruity, sherry flavour with it. So I hope people are enjoying it for the first dram. Did many people pick up on it, Victor? I know you were doing this deal where if you got the 6 drams, if you bought a bottle, you got the 6 drams. Was the Tamdhu a popular choice?
I think we've got about 4 left, so a couple of people did pick up on it, and I have to make the apology for making it the first dram. When I looked at it, I thought that's a bourbon Tamdhu. I didn't read the label, so that's why it's first. I thought, oh, that's a nice wee
Yeah,
bourbon tart. That'll do the job. But actually, when you taste it, it's got all the hallmarks of a definitely not overdone PX. It's very light,
yeah, yeah,
but it's
yeah.
definitely there.
Yeah, sometimes when we've had these casks for this length of time, we don't have the full provenance back for the cask, so I can't say whether it's been second or third or fourth fill. So there's an element of kind of intuition and guesswork on it. But I think when you look at the colour, you're pretty sure it's not a first or second fill PX cask. It's a cask that's had a bit of age in it. It could be second fill and be a 25-year-old cask. It could be fourth fill and be a 15-year-old cask. Potentially, technically, hypothetically. So we don't know how old the cask is, but I would say it's been used a few times. I've actually had this on the stand a few times next to a first fill bourbon cask, and the first fill bourbon cask looks darker in colour. And it's a really kind of good explanation to people to say, here's the exceptions to the rule type thing. And where you can get it. So I hope people are enjoying it. As I said, we've got a really, really good relationship. We and McLeod Distillers have done since probably since before they owned Tamdhu, to be perfectly honest, and maybe even before they owned Glengoyne. I think they took over Glengoyne around about 2004, and Tamdhu maybe 4 or 5 years after that. So when they bought Rosebank, that was a really good relationship for them to have because they were looking for some old Rosebank, and guess who might have had some. So that's maybe a bit commercially sensitive, but it's been a relationship with their owners, now owners, over a long, long period of time, probably a thick end of 40 years, to be perfectly honest. And it's one that works well for both of us. So every time we bring out a release and there's a Tamdhu or Glengoyne in it, I've always got a really, really interest in it because I think, one, it's 2 distilleries that I really, really like. And I think the casks that we've had over that long period of time, bearing in mind this 16-year-old, we would have got that as New Make Spirit 16 years ago. We tend to get, one, it's good spirit, we know that, but we tend to get it in good casks. And then you've got the individual characteristic of what's possibly a third or fourth fill PX cask that they would normally use for blending or something. And we've kept it long enough that it stands in its own right as a single cask. So I hope you like it. As I said, only 319 bottles. I think we've still got some in stock. And it will be on the stand at Kendal if you fancy trying it again.
Cool. And yeah, it's Peter's just put it up on the chat, the link to it. £99 for a 16-year-old Tamdhu. That's pretty good going in it. The Tamdhu's
As
their own stuff's a wee bit on the high end, I always think, but that's good value, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like commenting on other folks' price range and who's best and all the rest of it. It's for people to judge their own palate and their own wallet and what makes value. But for those of us that have been drinking Tamdhu, and you can argue the same with Glengoyne long enough, you have seen that price increase. And I've got a wee story to tell that almost contradicts the fact that I won't speak about other folks' prices and what have you. But when we got onto the Glengoyne, there's a wee bit of a story to tell just about the price point and that, and as well. Which no, I'd be the first to say we are not the cheapest independent bottler, and historically haven't been. But there's a couple in here that I think are good value for money. And as you say, Victor, a 16-year-old single cask. It's not cask strength, but it's still at 50% at that price. Kind of works quite well, I think. So we must have bought this batch in quite a big batch. If you go back through our selling history, if you looked at the previous year, we would have had Tamdhu 15s and 14s and 13s the year before and so on. So I'm pretty sure 16 years ago when we get this parcel, it's been a big enough size, and I rather suspect next year you're going to see a 17, an 18, a 19 as the years progress. So yeah, I always like watching these Tamdhus and Glengoynes that were released because they just tend to, you tend to see the journey of that parcel of casks, even though every one you release has got its own individual character. and we might choose to put one in an old malt cask release at 50%, and we might choose the next year to put it in a first edition at cask strength. So, yeah, stand by for the next release, which is likely to be a 17, I think.
Very good. So,
Cheers.
I'm going to ask Paul Bartley. You're my sherry man. This is a PX. There's not much to dislike, is there? What do you think?
No, you're absolutely right. It's although last week you'll remember I ended up going for the peated one as my number one. But no, yeah, Tamdhu, lovely, and
You got it.
yeah.
Good
Yeah.
man.
So
Well
yeah,
done, Paul.
really good one to start. I thought you might have started on the Jura, but there we go. I thought but no, yeah, really nice. Nothing bad about it. Never going to be bad about it. And at 50%, yeah, again, a 16-year-old, it's that's a fantastic price on that one. So yeah, really enjoyable, really good start.
And just the history of the old malt cask for those that don't know, it was a brand released in 1998. It was the first brand that actually got me onto the Laing family in the early 2000s, to be honest, when I started understanding a bit about independent bottlers, and the old malt cask range really appealed to me. But for those of us that are old enough to be drinking whiskey in the late 90s, at that point, you would go to a supermarket and you would get a 40 or 43% whiskey. Nobody was doing whiskey above 43 other than Springbank at 46. And Talisker were doing it at something like 45.8 or 46.5 or something. But after that, everything went to cask strength. There was nothing in between. So 50% then was seen as a very, very unusual bottling strength. Fast forward now, 27 years later, and actually it's a kind of sweet spot for a lot of whiskey drinkers. And I think it was one of the brands that was years ahead of its time, to be perfectly honest. And for a very traditional family-based company that don't kind of very often take big risks and do kind of something that's a wee bit unusual for the rest of the mainstream, and independent bottling, it was a kind of really unusual thing for us to do at the time, but I think it stood the test of time. You know, I think most folk around this screen, if you said, what's your favourite strength, 40, 43, 46 or 50, most folk would be in around about that kind of 50 mark, I would guess. So that's the history of old malt cask. When we write the full analysis of whiskey history, I always say old malt cask deserves a wee chapter of its own.
I actually thought the brand was older than that, but you're saying it's 98. I mean, I have been drinking it for 20 odd years, and it's whenever you see it in a bar, whenever I see it in a bar sitting on a shelf, I'll be like, right, that no matter what it is, I'll be like, I love the old malt cask one because I know it's going to be top notch, and it generally is.
Yeah, it's always worth trying. Always worth trying.
Okay,
So we
one
want to
more.
move on to Ian
Well,
McLeod Distillery number 2, Victor.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
So I've put this at a couple of shows. So we've got a 17-year-old Glengoyne here. Those, again, that have been drinking whiskey long enough might remember 17 Glengoyne being a core product from Glengoyne. And at that point, I think it was either 40% in the UK and 43 in Europe, or the other way around, I forget which. And then eventually, maybe going back 8 years ago or something, it just got discontinued because we were running out of stock. And I always remember the staff at Glengoyne Distillery saying they've stopped giving us discount on the Glengoyne 17. And if you ever hear MD at a distillery saying that, that's a sign that in a few months' time the whiskey's going to just stop and there's going to be a gap in their age range that they're going to play time to catch up on. So we've got 70-year-old Glengoyne, cask strength 56.8%, single cask, only 257 bottles here. Victor, can I just ask your price point on this? And I'll tell you the reason why. Because
Peter's my glamorous assistant who knows those things. I
don't know what price you've got it at, but I know it's.
What's the ABV on that one? Because I might have listed the wrong whiskey on the website.
56.8.
56.8.
Before you tell us the price, Peter, if you go to the distillery just now, they've got a handful single cask at 17 years old, and it's a similar strength, and it's £199. And Victor, you're doing this 17-year-old 56.8 single cask at. Come on, Peter, you've had plenty of time.
£110. £110.
£110. So again, going back to the kind of Tamdhu price, 16-year-old bottle of whiskey for less than 100. You've now got 17-year-old going up to cask strength, £110, which I think compares really, really well when you look around the market. Even just now when there's so much discounts going on in the kind of lead up to Christmas and New Year. I've had lots of people that are big Glengoyne fans, have been drinking for a long period of time. And I've had two different types of feedback on this. I've had people say that's exactly how I remember Glengoyne, albeit at a higher strength. And I've had lots of people saying, I'm a Glengoyne fan, and I actually don't find the Glengoyne character in that. So you pay your money, you take your choice. If there's no Glengoyne character in that, I'll be really honest, we've done something wrong. Personally, I think Glengoyne's character's in that. I just think because it's at a higher strength that you don't normally find with Glengoyne, then you might not find it. And certainly, if you do get a higher strength Glengoyne, like the teapot dram or something else, it's more often going to be from a sherry cask, and it's more often going to be a younger whiskey as well. So this might just be a Glengoyne that is older and at a higher strength that people haven't tried. And also, it's for a refill bourbon cask. Most new, when I say new, people that have been drinking Glengoyne for the last 20 years have had the benefit of only drinking it in sherry casks. You have to go quite a way back to be to one of the Glengoyne drinkers that can remember it, where its kind of core range was predominantly in bourbon casks. So I really like this dram. I think it's a really good version of Glengoyne. For those of you who've met me at whiskey festivals and shows, I often say that about, I think this is a good version of Tamdhu, or I think this is a good version of Glengoyne. It is something I repeat quite often, but when I say it, I genuinely mean it, because I've probably tried maybe 20 different Glengoynes for Hunter Laing, and maybe 40 or 50 from other independent bottlers as well. And Glengoyne, I think, was the first ever distillery I visited, or maybe the second, way back in, I don't know, mid-90s or something like that. It's a distillery if you come and visit me from abroad or anywhere further than Edinburgh, and I want to take you to a whiskey distillery, I'll probably drive you to Glengoyne, because it's one of the ones that's close enough to where I stay in Glasgow. And it's not like all contortion in the edge of a house and estate. It's at the bottom of a hill with a running river running through it, and it does look that kind of picturesque shortbread tin kind of distillery. But it's got a history and heritage, and they make good whiskey as well. Victor, I know the last time you asked people what they thought of the Tamdhu, and what I would say is, if people want to feedback on it, see if you don't like any of the whiskies, please let me know. I really appreciate feedback, and I've just got this view that whiskey's a bit like going to an art gallery. You can't like every painting on the wall, you can't like every sculpture on a stand, you can't like every tapestry that's made. So if this isn't for you, just say, but welcome any feedback from the Glengoyne folks.
So let's ask somebody who's fairly close, and I reckon has been drinking Glengoyne for 20 odd years. Mr. McKeague, are you on board with this one?
Yes, I am. And to be honest, Victor, I thought this was going to be first up tonight.
Well, I'm taking the blame for that, right? So I've already put my hand up that I didn't read the Tamdhu label. This probably should have been first up. So there you go.
And Pete got the label wrong, because he's got that as 57.4, didn't you? You did ask.
There's a little bit of evaporation that's meant the ABV's just gone up ever so slightly when it was decanted into the bottles. It's like the Angel Share took a bit of water out, so actually it's a little bit higher in the sample bottle.
But Paul, this is lovely. It is very bourbony, lots of pears, lots of custard creams. Very, very nice indeed. Don't get me wrong, the Tamdhu beforehand was banging.
Yeah. I like your style, Andy, that you think this should have been first. We should have started at 56.8. Wouldn't like to go out with you for a night out.
Well, I've just actually 20 Rosebank, because they were giving freebies out to the 31-year-old with a mince pie. But they didn't give the dram with the mince pie. You had to finish the dram, then go downstairs to get the mince pie afterwards. And we decided to ask for, there was a new Glengoyne, which was a travel exclusive Oloroso one. Rather well. But this is lovely. Lovely, subtle notes, bourbon cast that's there. And like the Tamdhu beforehand, it's like PX light.
Yeah.
Because it's not in your face, it's not a tongue-drying PX either. It's really, really nice. So very good start to the
And I think the Tamdhu's got a depth of character and a length of flavour that's really, really enjoyable. I think the Glengoyne length of flavour just kind of knocks it out the park a wee bit, just at that higher strength. So again, it's one of the whiskies that, no, probably not before your meal. You might be different, Andy, if you're starting on 56.8s, but no, it's got a lot of depth and character. And the longer I've been drinking whiskey, the more I get more appreciation out the mouth feel and the length of the flavour, as opposed to just the nose and the palate, which are really important. But for me, it's that how it coats the mouth and the way it holds the palate for a longer length of time. And this Glengoyne 17 really, really does it. So and it's nice to see on the chat just members getting that for £100. I think that's really good value, Victor. I really do.
Aye, we do. Members get 10% off RRP stock, so I think that applies to everybody here. So fill your boots. That's what I'd say. It's very good.
You know, the label photograph. It says on the bottom right-hand corner, it's from a refill butt.
Can we just stop recording my mistakes, please? If that's all right with everyone. Just
no, on the label of the bottle. On the
I know, but you should never believe everything you read, Anderson.
So I've got the bottle here, Anderson.
Yeah.
And it's one of 257 bottles from a refill butt. And if you want the code, it's HL20293.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
56.8.
Isn't a refill butt an ex-sherry variant?
Not always.
Not always. Oh, right.
Yeah.
I've learned something new there, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah. So the people can correct me if I'm wrong here, but no, but you normally hear sherry butts, but you'll often get butts that are made up in Scotland, and they'll have came from America.
Right.
The slaves that came from America.
Right. So, I've learned something new there. Thank you.
It certainly doesn't look or taste like anything that's from a sherry butt, I have to say.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's just it's the right colour for bourbon. I've only ever experienced the butt maturation when it's involved an ex-sherry butt.
Yeah. I think there'll be somebody that knows far more about coopering than I hear, but I think when you get casks from the States, they have got X number of staves in them. And to make it higher into a butt, you need to add staves in it. So you end up, I think, getting 4 cask makes 3 butts, I think, is the algebra or the maths or the geometry or whatever mathematics you want to use. And we end up with a butt it's effectively made out of American barrels.
Wow. Right.
But that isn't to say it doesn't then have sherry in it. Could have anything in it after that, no. But it started off coming from America and been bourbon, or for somewhere else, for that matter. No, it could have came from Colombia or wherever else the casket you're getting from. So that's that.
So Peter, what do you think of the whiskey that you might be drinking?
Whatever it might be, it's really good. I don't know what it is, but it's fantastic. No, the Glengoyne's really, really nice. Like a really just fresh, bourbony, just great. And it doesn't drink like a 56.8 or whatever ABV I put on a label.
Yeah, good point.
And then the Tamdhu, I've never really liked Tamdhu. I've never had a good, in my opinion, I've never had a good like core range Tamdhu. It's always been a bit meh and a bit overpriced, I thought. But every time I've had an indie one, it's just been banging, and that's another banging one.
Good, thank you.
Good, Peter.
Alan, how are you getting on with this one? And did you like the Tamdhu?
Yes, Tamdhu's lovely. The legs on that, I mean, that just clings to the glass. It's so oily, the Tamdhu. And then by comparison, this is super clean on the glass. There's hardly any legs on this. It's almost like a virgin oak, where you get that sort of, it just washes out the glass. But I put a couple of drops in the Glengoyne. It's got like a lovely sort of dry sweetness to it. Yeah, it's very, very nice.
Yeah, it's a nice description, Alan. Actually, I forgot just. I think I'd get focused tonight on a lot of the kind of sherry and wine influences that we've got and stuff, but you forget just how clean that Glengoyne is. Actually, no, in comparison, yeah.
Because you always associate Glengoyne with sort of sherry casks. So to taste it in a bourbon is just really, you just get the spirit. It's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. And getting back to Tamdhu, Alan, we've I mean both Glengoyne and Tamdhu especially. I mean Tamdhu I think's exclusively sherry casks. Glengoyne still do some bourbon sherry blending for their single malts. But I can remember Tamdhu when it was owned by Edrington, and we've still got lots of Tamdhu from bourbon casks. I know maybe 24, 25 years old, and Tamdhu in bourbon cask is phenomenal. So it tells me that Tamdhu is a really, really good spirit because it works in both bourbon and and sherry, and works at a young age and a high age, and at low ABVs and high ABVs. So that always indicates to me that it's a very versatile spirit. And I would say the same about Glengoyne, to be perfectly honest. I can remember Glengoyne almost exclusively been available in bourbon casks, or maybe it was just my budget at the time. It was only in bourbon casks when I was first starting drinking whiskey. Whereas now it's you see it far more often with sherry casks and sometimes the mix. But two good distilleries, I think. And the other thing about the selection you've picked, Victor, is often you'll get an independent bottler and there'll be 2 or 3 Diageo expressions in there, and there's nothing wrong with that because Diageo, whatever distillery you go to, they make really, really good spirit, and especially when you see it in a single cask and single malt. But tonight we've only got one for Diageo, so it's actually nice to see a bit of a range from Ian MacLeod distillers for Chivas and elsewhere, to be perfectly honest. Sometimes you can go to a whiskey show and I'll turn up with a Kalila and there'll be 10 Kalilas. They'll all be good, don't get me wrong, because it's Kalila, and I know that's an old favourite, one of your private bottlings, the old malt casket you did from us, but it's nice just to be the only person in a room that's got an independent bottle of Glengoyne, for example. So, nice selection you've picked out.
That was part of it, and I think it's testament to Laing and the stocks that they've got, that they have got whiskey from everybody, really. It's definitely not one trick pony. I was just going to ask you, just for people that might not know, the first one was on the old malt cask label, which is 50%. This one's on first editions label. Do you want to just kind of give us a bit of background as to what first editions?
Yeah, first editions was a kind of so the history of the company is obviously Douglas Laing started the company in 1948. His 2 sons, Stuart, who's my boss, and Fred, his younger brother, took the company on when Douglas passed on in '84. And then Stuart and Fred did their own thing about 12 years ago. So Stuart's sons, Andrew and Scott. Andrew, this is Andrew's baby, first editions, to be perfectly honest. And he came up with the name on the basis of, if you were into your literature and your books and a very, very high end purchase of books, first editions would be the type of thing that you would go for, and you would go searching for something really, really special and unique and kind of one-off. And he thought that was appropriate for the type of casks he was picking to put into first edition bottlings. It would be something that would have its own individual character. It would never be done again, and you would only ever buy it once because then it was gone type thing. So that was the kind of history there. And first editions has been going for, it must be about, I don't know, thick end of 20 years, something like that. And it's very few people ask the question, actually, Victor, and it's very rare I explain it, because often we spend so much time speaking about the spirit. So a good question to ask, actually.
Good. Well, be prepared when we get to the next one, which is old and rare.
Yeah, so listen, if I don't know the answer, I just lie, and you won't know.
You do it very well. You must have. You must have had a career in that or something, have you?
Yeah. Well, what I just do is, because I'm from Glasgow and I'm in my home city, I just start speaking really fast, so you won't know I'm lying.
Has anyone got any more questions or comments on the Glengoyne before we move on?
Victor, can I just jump in for a moment? because we've just asked about the Old Malt Cask. We've just asked about first edition. Now, something at Hunter Laing do, which just blew me away, was kinship.
Yeah, yeah.
So if that's all right, Paul, if you can just give us a moment where kinship came from, because I was always quite up to the Islay stuff until it became old Islay, and then it just blew my head.
Yeah, so kinship was basically a range we started in, I think, 2018, Andy, and so Ardnahoe Distillery opened in 2018 in terms of producing its first spirit. In fact, we might have done kinship the year before, 2017. So before the distillery was open to the public and before it was finished, every time the festival was on in May, we still had an Ardnahoe Day. So even when our shop at that time was based down at Bridgend Square and we couldn't let anyone on at the site at Ardnahoe, so we decided to come up with this idea of a tasting that we'd do, and it was called the kinship tasting. And it was almost always old Islay whiskies. This one's a 26-year-old Jura. There was one Highland Park, I think, put into it. I think there was one Springbank. There was was there a Tobermory put in? I can't remember. But it was almost exclusively Islay. A couple of other kind of West Coasters and a Highland Park was put in once as well. So it was basically our way of paying kind of homage to Islay whiskies, but also doing it at a kind of very high-end range, if you like, and allowing us to show off some of our older expressions of what we had. So I think the youngest whiskey that's ever been in the kinship range, so it started 2017, we probably did it up to 2023, so that's 6 or 7 years. I think the youngest whiskey was 18, and the oldest would be about 34, 35, if memory gets me right. And what you would be able to do each year is, one, you could either buy them by the single bottle or buy the whole 6 together. And if you came to the distillery or you came to Islay, you could join in and do a kinship tasting. Price of the tastings at the time were normally about 140 quid or something. And in fact, it's very personal to me as well, because I've only worked for the company for less than 4 years, but I've been going to the kinship tasting since it started. I'm pretty sure it was 2017, and Jim McEwen used to host it on the island. And one year, I mean, to give you an example of it, one year I paid for my flights over to Islay with a few friends, and the flights get cancelled, and we had to get a bus down to Kennacraig and catch a ferry and jump a taxi and get up to, this is when Ardnahoe was opened actually. And Jim McEwen did the tasting, and even though I knew the family well, I still had to pay him £140 for the gig, and then go back to the Bridgend Hotel and pay him a couple of nights for a hotel. So for me to go and do the kinship tasting, it was probably costing me, I don't know, thick end of £1,000, and I had no hesitation about it. You fast forward a couple of years and you get a phone call from Stuart Laing, and he says, Paul, you know how you've been coming to the kinship tastings for the last couple of years? How would you like to host it next year at the distillery? And immediately I said yes, because it was like such an easy decision to make. But very, very quickly, the Glasgow and the Scotsman got into me and said, no longer have to pay for my flights, no longer have to pay for my hotels, and I'm not paying £140 for the tasting either. So it was an absolute no-brainer decision. But I hope that answers your story about kinship, Andy. We decided not to do it anymore once Ardnahoe came out. So when we did the first release of Ardnahoe last year in 2023, we thought, no, let Ardnahoe be the star and let it shine at the festival, and let's not bother with kinship. We're having a couple of discussions just now about maybe doing something a bit different with some of the Hunter Laing stock next year. Whether that will happen or no, I don't know. It's the Christmas night out for the company next week, so we might make a decision there with a couple of glasses of wine in us. Who knows?
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah,
all right.
Cheers for that. I mean, Victor, credit to you guys, because you did the tasting for the 2021, which was phenomenal and right up there with one of the best that I've ever had. And it did blow my mind with the Isleys. So thanks for your time there.
No, I've got quite a few bottles of it there, and it was really interesting as well. I mean, if I had never really tasted old peated Islay whiskey up until that point, no 32, 33, 34-year-old Lafroigs and stuff. And it's fascinating because, unless you're really, really peat sensitive, you'd be forgiven for thinking they're not peated. I hadn't realised that peat softened so much over the years. And when you start getting to really old Lafroigs, there's not that medicinal slap in the face flavour that you would normally get. Great range, but I don't think we'll be revisiting it. We've got a room in the distillery that very few people get access to. I think it's the only room in the distillery, other than the warehouse, that doesn't have windows in it. It's right in the centre, and it's the kind of family room, and it's called the kinship room. So if you're ever up there when I'm there, we'll make sure you get a wee look in. We don't let Alan in because that's where we store all the valuable stuff. And Alan's always looking for a free T-shirt.
Very good. I remember that kinship tasting well. It was absolutely superb, and it did exactly as you said. It was really the first time I tasted Islay whiskey at that age, because you don't really see it, above 25, 30 years old, and it blew my mind as well. Just a shame we didn't do it in 2022 and 2023. I'm not sure why we didn't, but there you go.
Yeah.
Well,
there might be some sets left. I'll have a look and see if there's any sets left, Victor, if that's something
I do that. Please do.
I'm not sure if there is.
If there is any left, then send us a message and we can maybe do something with them. That'd be good. That would be a lot of fun, actually. Even if there was odds from different years, we could put them together.
There definitely is that. That's a definite possibility.
Okay, let's have a go at that. Excellent, cool. Okay, let's move on. I actually thought long and hard about putting this whiskey first, and kind of didn't, because I thought you need to get into the swing of it before you have a 29-year-old Glen Grant. So that's what's next.
This is just a brilliant old whiskey. You can come up with all sorts of tasting notes and descriptions for this, Victor, but I've used this twice at tastings. We did a high-end Whiskey World tasting in London West End in May. I think there was about 80 different companies there, and we had this with a 32-year-old Bunnahabhain and a 31-year-old Mortlach, I think it was, and real whiskey aficionados that were coming to it with deep pockets. I think this was... I think at that time maybe about £350 or something. I don't know what you're selling it for, but it just everybody that came to the stand, and it wasn't that let me try your oldest whiskey, because this is actually the youngest of the old whiskies we had. The word just went round the room, and everybody was coming up and saying, I want to try your 29-year-old Glen Grant. And it's just it's an uncomplicated whiskey. There's none of the whiskies here tonight are finished. It's went in its cask. It's stayed there for the length of time. It's come out at its natural strength, its natural colour. I think this is 52.1. I forget how many bottles there are of it. It's quite a small number. Memory serves me right. 173.
173. It says on the label. 52.1. Yeah.
But if you like whiskey of a certain age, so this is 29 years old, so this would have been distilled at the tail end of the last century, the mid-90s.
94, March 94. I'm just helping you out.
Just good. No, well, listen, I've not got the bottle in front of me, but it's just good old-fashioned Glen Grant and good old-fashioned whiskey from that 1990s era. And I just think it speaks for itself. It's got a depth, it's got a character. Alan mentioned earlier on about that kind of viscosity in the way the kind of whiskey stays in the mouth. It's just a really elegant whiskey, I think. Really high-end, elegant. One that maybe not everybody can afford, but one if you can afford, you're going to share with really, really special people. If your next door neighbour pops in it Boxing Day and you don't really like them, this isn't coming out. But no, somebody you really like, you're saying you want to try this. It's just a really, really good whiskey. So Glen Grant, owned by Chivas. Again, we've got really, really good relationships with Chivas, have had for long, long periods of time. We've managed to we would have had this stock from 1994 as New Make Spirit. And we're delighted to have it. I think it's the oldest Glen Grant I've tried. And I used that phrase earlier on. It's a very, very, very good version of Glen Grant. Glen Grant, most people have tried it, low ABVs, low age, 10, 12, biggest selling single malt in Italy. But to try it at this age and to try it at this strength is just, I think, very, very special. So I'm looking forward to what people think about it. And just before we come on to that, the only other time I've poured it, in fact, Alan, you were at Bakewell. I don't know if you tried it that day. I'm pretty sure you would have.
Yeah, we tried it at Bakewell, and it was probably the best thing I thought that you had on the table. I tried we tried the Tamdhu as well. We tried the Tamdhu at Bakewell.
Was that there? Oh goodness!
Yeah,
so I'm bringing out the old favourites this year, but
no, it's fine because they're both bangers. Both good.
Yeah,
both
but lots. If I was being honest, and I misjudged the Bakewell audience because if I was being honest, amongst your group of friends, Victor, we don't tend to take 29-year-old whiskies to that many festivals now because there's some festivals. And I've attended a festivals, a punter myself, where folk just want to drink the oldest whiskey there or the most expensive whiskey there. So I'm a wee bit selective about what old whiskies I'll take to which festivals. And I didn't really know the Bakewell audience. And again, one session festival, very quickly, word went round the room, you've got to try this 29-year-old Glen Grant. And I had lots of people coming up wanting to try it. But the shop sold out of it on the day. And then the Monday we got an order for another couple of cases because they had stacked up orders on the day. And as I said, I think it was about 350 quid. I'm not sure, Peter, how much it's going for just now. So it wasn't just people come up and saying, let me try the oldest whiskey. It was generally people come up and saying, I want to try that whiskey that folk have said is really good. Oh, I really like that. And they were going to the guys and putting their name down for a bottle because it wasn't left at the shop. So it's a nice story.
Good. Well, I've got another story for you because I was round at Chris Lodge's place this afternoon. I dropped his pack off for him and came away and I got home and put my hand in my pocket and there was a wee tasting bottle in it and I'd forgotten to give him the Glen Grant. So I go out in a stinking night, and it is a stinking night here in Southport, and I left it on his doorstep because I'm such a kind man that way. Chris, was it worth my effort?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought, this is nice. This it certainly opens the nostrils up. It's a lovely old whiskey, isn't it?
It is.
I'm sure you've probably got a bottle set aside for me somewhere, haven't you?
I think you've already got one.
Have I already got it? Okay.
I think that's not
you to miss a sale there, Victor.
Yeah, the bill's on its way, isn't it? It's because I've not seen the bill yet. That's what it is.
I'll saw your bill tomorrow, but yes, you've already got one. We've only got one left, actually. So that's in the shop. There might be another order coming in to you tomorrow, Paul. What were the first two, Chris? You have opinions on them?
I like the first one because normally I'm not overly fantastic, a big fan of sherry stuff, but it was nicely balanced. That it wasn't overbearing, was it? And the second one, I thought that was very nice. Yeah, there's not been a bad one so far. And I'll tell you, Chris, because there's no red wine casks yet, is there?
There might be one coming up.
Well, that'd be rubbish.
Oh.
Well, wait and see.
So Chris, just hold that thought, Chris, because we need to explore that. We need to explore that when we get a bit further on.
And I haven't done your bill yet, Chris. So if there are any more you want to throw in, just let me know.
Okay, right. Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah, Taylor's here, you know.
Yeah, I can see. I'm just
it's a secret.
Very good. Jason, what do you make of the Glen Grant?
Glen Grant, yeah, I enjoyed that. It's quite an elegant whiskey, I'd say. So yeah, it's one you'd bring out for your better friends.
Thanks, I'm coming round.
Yeah, but I think I enjoyed the Glengoyne back more though. I think it had a bit more bite, which I preferred. But yeah. I think Glengoyne's probably a more interesting whiskey for me, but the Glen Grant, yeah, it's a bit more elegant.
Very good, very good. And Kevin, you never made it to the mash this week. Are you? How are you doing sampling them at home?
Apologies, Victor. I literally sat as your right-hand man last week, fully intended to get the tasting off you and didn't. We ended up talking about peak drams and then my shift, my lift arrived. So apologies, I've not got it. I have one of these I'm happy to share with the boys though. Very happy to share with everyone that you kindly gave me last week, Victor. So, that was the only thing I took away. Fully intended to get it, the tasting, and then walked away with not doing it. So I'm just a spectator tonight.
Okay, very good, very good. And have you opened that? Have you opened that bottle yet? That ordinary, is it?
This one.
Oh, okay. Oh, you took the empty box. You took the tasting box. That's right. I remember that. You're gonna have your gerbils in it or something, aren't you? It's all furry inside.
Yeah, but Paul, I'm pleased to know he'll have a quality chest set in it, just to let him know. So.
Yeah, the problem with those boxes is they're just very difficult to throw out once they're done.
Yeah, no, it's really easy at the end of a festival to be giving them away. Everybody wants them, so I don't think we've got any old and rare at Kendal tomorrow or Saturday, so it won't be a difficulty. Has anyone tried Glen Grant of that vintage before, that kind of mid-1990s? Victor, yeah?
Yeah, I love old Glen Grant. I love it. I think it's great. I always look for it, and that's kind of why it's in the. I think once it gets over 25, Glen Grant really comes into its own.
Yeah, I think it's I hate saying this, but I think it's a real whiskey drinker's whiskey type thing. No, it's no, and a whiskey drinker maybe of that generation as well. No, Peter's put his hand up there. He doesn't fall into the category, but if you've drank whiskies of that age from that era, from the 90s, it's got that kind of bit of heritage and nostalgia about it as well. No.
He's only drank it because he gets a wee bit off me. That's the only reason he's drank the Glen Grant this age.
Listen, nothing up with that. Nothing up with that.
He's just sat here drinking grouse, so it's just quite nice to have some fancy stuff to drink for once.
Good to go. Any more opinions on the Glen Grant before we move on?
Very good indeed.
You like it, Anderson?
I do. I've got my eye on that last bottle in your shop. I'll get the rest of these tasters down me, and I might inadvertently hit the buy now button.
Go for it. You won't regret it.
If you're anything like me, Anderson, what you do is you buy your own Christmas present and you give it to your wife to give to your children, who wrap it up and give it back to you. No, so you can put it on your own Christmas list. No. I'm just going to check a photograph here because I don't want Alan asking for his money back and telling me that the next whiskey here we had at Bakewell. I think we might have actually, so I'm just going to try and have a wee look to see. Was that your first time at Bakewell, Alan?
Yeah. If this is the wine, one, I've had this.
Have you? Right. Okay. So
you couldn't wait to tell me.
I'll have to give you your money back.
You couldn't wait to tell me how good it was.
Oh, listen, it's one of my favourite whiskies this year. This one, so the next one, and again going back to Chris. So this is whiskey fully matured in a Rioja red wine cask, and it's the only Diageo expression we've got here tonight. So it's single cask. 56.7%. Exact same number of bottles actually as the Glengoyne, I think 257. So from Dailuaine, Dailuaine, however you want to pronounce it, people will argue all day. If you phone up the distillery, the person answering the phone normally says, Dailuaine Distillery, can I help you? So Dailuaine does me. It's 15 years old. Dailuaine from 2009, and as I said, from a red Rioja wine cask. Red wine in particular seems to split the whiskey audience, and I get that. And it kind of splits me. Sometimes I really like it, sometimes I don't. I really like this one. I think it's got a real balance to it. It doesn't have that kind of tannin, woody effect that you sometimes get with red wine casks. It just seems to have been bottled at the right age and at the right strength to just get that kind of balance of character, 56.7%. And I think for this time of year, it's not a kind of Christmas cake whiskey, but every time I drink of it, I think I can't wait for Christmas. It just sort of gets me in the mood for kind of Christmas and this time of year with the dark nights and the heating on and the fire on. It's just, in fact, I've got a glass here I'm going to have a wee nose and sip of.
I was really thinking that was going to be like mega tannic when you look at the colour of it. Really not. That's really, really easy drinking, sweet, just really nice.
And it's got that, makes your mouth water, so kind of dries your palate, makes your mouth water. The flavour lasts forever. It's got a bit of, I don't normally do flavours and tasting notes because I think everybody's good enough to do their own, but it's got that kind of bit of licorice in it. The kind of sweet fruits and dark fruits that you would get with Rioja. This just coats the mouth forever. And it can coat with water as well. It doesn't need water at 56.7%, but it can coat with a couple of drops, no problem. And that sweetness just seems to elevate and expand and elongate in the mouthfeel and the aftertaste as well. I'm really keen to know what Chris thinks. If red wine cask is not your normal thing, Chris, there's no preacher like the converted, so have we converted you in this one?
No.
No. We did our best.
Every time I have a red wine cask finish, it reminds me, I don't know what it is, but they remind me of a rotten, stale mushroom. And it finishes like a bad story. But that's just my personal experience with red wine cask finishes. They don't suit me at all.
And are you the same with port or Madeira or fortified wines?
Mostly, I think, yes. Yeah.
Are you right? Okay.
Red wines,
that's interesting.
In particular, they just die on me straight away. I love red wine. Kyle's a massive fan of red wine, and
wow.
But yeah, whiskey and red wine to me just doesn't go for me at all. I'm not a big sherry cask finish. I'd rather have a bourbon finish.
Yeah.
But yeah, red wine casks for me. I'd rather not drink whiskey if that was all there was to drink with regards to whiskey.
Yeah. And I suppose, I mean, I always say this, if you know what you don't like, that's half the battle, because when you walk into a whiskey shop and you can get overwhelmed with the amount of whiskies in the shop, you know exactly what you don't want. So it's easy to find, far easier to find what you do. So it's like getting into a restaurant for me, right away there'll be things in the menu that I don't want to have. And it kind of narrows it down to the things that you're more likely to have. So
would be no fun if we were all the same, would it? We've all got different palates, we've all got different tastes, and the chances of me drinking this last little bit in here are nil to zero, really.
Well, I see.
It's not a reflection on the whiskey creator. It's my palate. It's I'm not trying to be offensive, but
no
finishes do offend me.
Listen, I've asked you an honest question. You've given an honest answer.
Yeah.
Can't ask for more than that. So, but just a whiskey fact, actually, and I only discovered this relatively recently, and I think it was in a podcast. So other people here might have listened to it, but the reason wine casks came so popular into whiskey maturation was in the back of the 2008 financial crash, where even Diageo, and this is a good example of it, had to cut their cloth and start spending less money on bourbon casks. So even at that time, I think 2008, a bourbon cask would have been about $50 or something, so nowhere near the price it is now. But that's when they started going to Spain and France and Italy and Hungary and just about anywhere and buying up wine casks, and they would get them really, really, really cheap. And what's interesting now is that when you look back, if you pick up a whiskey that's been matured or finished in wine, and this is a really good example of it, where it's a 2009, it's amazing how often you look at, oh, that's a wine cask and it comes from 2008 or 2009, just on that fringe of the financial crash when the wine casks were starting to come into the whiskey production and whiskey maturation. So I can remember that period, 2008, but I had no idea that it affected big companies like Diageo and Chivas and Edrington and others to the extent that they were saying, let's stop buying as many bourbon casks and let's start getting some cheaper casks. And for some whiskey drinkers 15, 16 years further on, that's been a real revelation that they're enjoying their fortified wine or their Sauternes or their Chateau de Chem or their Rioja or their Amarone or whatever else. But for some like Chris, it's not their thing. So yeah, I think I can't remember before 2008 any kind of wine maturation or wine finishes at that particular time. So I think the first ones I came across actually were probably Aaron. Remember Aaron still do the Sauterne and Amarone series and everything else. That was probably early 2010s, 2012, 14, something like that. So what about you, Victor? Are you enjoying the Dailuaine?
You probably didn't want to ask me that question. I was kind of hoping you wouldn't, because I'm kind of in Chris's boat. Wine casks just don't go with me. I mean, I've tried that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's quite nice. It's quite nice, but actually, it's just left a kind of bitter taste in my mouth. It's still there, and I'm kind of, it's just not for me. And so if I'm looking at a menu, I don't pick them. Never pick them.
You don't pick that one.
It's on tonight because, well, it's not all about me, right? So hopefully we'll find somebody in the room that does like them, but it's not for me. There you go. Sorry.
Honest question, honest answer.
There you go.
As I said earlier, you can't like every picture in the art gallery.
So, Stephen, you say it's like Cherrier. Does that mean do you like it? Has he got a mic? Maybe not. He's YouTube shy.
I'll put my hand up. I quite enjoyed it.
Hey!
I think with the wine cast, though, yeah, I think with the wine cast, though, I do prefer them a bit peaty, though. So, but yeah, I mean, that wasn't bad. Wasn't too offensive. It was all right.
Yeah, I'll add. I really enjoyed it. It's at the moment it's number 2 for me, behind the Tamdhu. So yeah, really nice, surprising, and unbelievably dark. Which again, I do.
Yeah, it's a good colour.
I do appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good colour.
That's good.
Only got a wee bit left. It's interesting actually how I mean, I've had some groups in Lanarkshire here where I've went with a couple of bottles of this, and I've ended up selling 3 cases in a group of 25 people. It's just been like the number one of the night. And then other groups, it's less so. So it's just whiskey drinkers for you. So
anybody else in favour of this Dailuaine?
Yeah,
Please come on, let's get some. Yeah, thank you very much. Don't let it be.
I'm enjoying it as well.
You enjoying it, Anson? Thank you.
Hi.
I'm liking it. It's good.
Good.
I've got because I'm a nerd. Can I interject with a nerd fact?
No.
Okay.
I was saying that I didn't know that you were a nerd, not that.
So the wine cast thing, I found something from W.P. Lowry back in 1897. They actually started experimenting with wine season casks back in 1897 because there was a shortage of sherry casks. So they've been experimenting for 130 odd years with stuff like that.
And what was the guy's name? What was the company's name?
W.P. Lowry.
W.P. Lowry, right.
Patented wine season casks, apparently, because everything has to be patented in the 1890s, isn't it?
Wasn't he a painter?
That's what he used the barrels for. I like this. I'm a big fan of Rioja, Amarone, Valpolicella, Etna Rosso, big red bold wines, etc. There's a lovely pinky hue in this, but it really softens the Dailuaine, because Dailuaine can be quite viscous, quite meaty, and this is really very subtle.
I think your palate and mine, Andy.
I'm a huge red wine fan of all those, all those that you mentioned. We drink a lot of it, but I just don't like my whiskey seasoned in it. That's it. Sorry.
I think Andy's palate and mine must be quite similar. I think the other thing I should have said, that perhaps the reason I like this so much is that I think maybe you drink so much whiskey over the years or over the course of a year, and I'm not saying they all start feeling similar, but for me, this sticks out as being very different. No, and I like that, but I can appreciate why people don't like the different. At that point, the difference is not something they're looking for. They're looking for something that's more, don't want to say in their comfort zone, but they're more familiar with. What really gets me with this is that I think I could go to Kendal tomorrow, try 40 or 50 whiskies, spit them all out, and this would stick out. No, it might stick out and not be the most memorable or the least memorable or the one you didn't like, but for me, this just sticks out, and I really appreciate that, oh, that's like something I've not tried for a long, long time, and I can spend a lot of time with it. So, but I can understand that, no, if you don't like your whiskey seasoned in the, excuse me, the type of casks, then no, that's your prerogative. No, I can't argue with that by any stretch of imagination.
Very good. So
I'd agree with you, Paul. I think out of all of them, it's so radically different to what we've tried, and I think that's what appeals to it. Yeah, it's lovely. Not wrong with it. It's great.
Good.
Excellent.
And what was the price for it? 80, 86, 87 for members. So again, 15 years old, cask strength, 56.7, 257 bottles. I think that's well, it's a rubbish price if you don't like it, but it's a really good price if you do.
So I'm looking forward to moving on to the Jura. Can we do that?
Yeah. So the next one's Jura, and I know I've deliberately suggested this to you, Victor. I'm glad you picked up on it. Jura splits the room, especially if you've only been drinking whiskey for a relatively short period of time. And by that, I mean maybe the last 10, 15 years, that Jura has not been considered the best distillery to get whiskey from. Notwithstanding that, it's still the biggest selling single malt in the UK, and has been consistently for a long number of years. I've been a long time fan of Jura since, in fact, the first ever whiskey tasting I did was with memory blank, Richard Patterson, in his offices in Glasgow here. And Jura and Dalmore were his big products at the particular time. That was kind of early 2000s, I think. But anyway, I've always been a fan of Jura, but in particular where Jura gets a wee bit older and when it gets a wee bit higher strength. No, and I can understand the people that don't like it at 40%, non-age statement and what have you. This here, we've got Jura that is 15. Great age for whiskies, I think, that kind of mid-teens. It's single cask. It's an old malt cask bottling as well, so we've bottled this at 50%. It's from a refill sherry butt, and we get 459 bottles out of it. So what you've got here, if Jura is not normally your thing, the points of difference in this is probably an older Jura from what you're normally tried, 15. It's probably a higher strength at 50%, and it's full maturation in that refill sherry butt. And I think all the things work together to make it sort of balanced, and with character and a depth, and a kind of longer flavour than you would normally get with the whiskies, the Jura whiskies that you would normally find in the supermarkets. And that's not to discredit them. I've actually got some of them up in my cabinet here. I've kind of got a wee bit of nostalgia and fondness for Jura going way, way back. So 15-year-old Jura, refill sherry butt, 50% ABV. And it'd be nice to get any feedback on this from, if there's any Jura fans in your group, Victor, or if there's any Jura naysayers in your group as well.
Come on, chaps, hands up.
I like a Jura, an Indie Jura. I've not had many. Remarkably, about 2 weeks ago, Master of Malt had an offer on some first edition Jura. I got a couple of bottles at sort of mid-50s%, but I've not opened one yet. But this nose is lovely. It really does. It's better.
I didn't see that, Anderson. What age were they? The first edition bottles, do you know?
13.
All right. So I wonder if it's came from the same parcel and they've just been bottled at different strengths.
Maybe.
So, because this is I think this is a 2000, and Peter might have to help me out here. I think this is a 2009, I think.
Right, November.
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah.
So it'd be worth looking at your first edition bottles to see if they're also 2009, Anderson.
They did a flash sale and I thought, oh, go on, I'll give it a whirl. It's on to Laing, so I knew it was going to be good stuff. And I haven't tried it yet, but I do like the independent Juras, the official bottles.
I got a bottle gifted to me so long ago, I can't even remember. And it was one of those nostalgia ones, and I never got around to opening, but I've got the Jura.
Signatory.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 75.
Yeah.
You need to bring that down in January for the festival, Paul.
Yeah.
We'll help you with that.
Yeah, so 22nd of the 10th, 75, bottled, 8th, 95, bottles, 424 of 520, and it's 43%.
It'll definitely be terrible, but we should definitely bring it to the festival so we can help you decide one way or the other.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had it for quite some time, but there we go.
And what's your opinion on this one you've got in your glass, Paul?
Very nice, actually. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right, Paul. Jura, it splits the room. And for a lot of people, if you turn on and say, "Oh, I quite like Jura," in some areas, you'll get the, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Nobody likes Jura, but actually, no, I quite like some of the expressions in this one. Is again right up my street with it all. Real nice taste. And this one is 50. Well, 50% as well.
Bang on 50.
Yeah, bang on 50. But no, really nice. Do enjoy it.
I see Anderson's got his bottles there, Anderson. That looks a nice colour. Is it 2000?
I don't know. The camera seems to only be focusing on me, but it was distilled at 2011. It's a 13-year-old age statement, and it's bottled at 53.5%. And it's from a sherry hogshead, 274 bottles. So I thought I'd go and just grab that and have a look at it. Yeah, it's a first edition's bottling. So based on the Glengoyne and based on the old malt cask Jura that we've got in the glass, then that sounds like a good combination.
Yeah, I like to be a good advocate for Jura, just because I've been drinking it long enough. I've seen it go up and down, and every distillery has that. No, I've seen it with some of my favourite distilleries that they go through a period where it might be a change of management, it might be a change of distillery manager, it might be the accountant causes a change in barley efficiency or something like that, and just for a few years the distillery seems to go away off stream, and then they come back on and they do. I mean, Dailuaine's a classic example. They took their worm tubs out, and 36 years later, I think it was, they had to put them all back in just because the spirit lost its character. I suppose the secret is if you make a mistake and things get worse, it's picking up on it as quickly as possible and rectifying it. But I think some of the Juras that are coming out now for the distillery are so much better than what they were not that long ago. And again, this is a good example. It's not a finish. No, this is a full maturation in sherry. So it's not that kind of 6-9 months at the end. Trying to give it a bit of character makes it different. So Interesting feedback, Victor. What was your favourite and your feedback in this one, Victor?
We're
you've
back
been
on track with
drinking
this.
Jura for a
I like
long
this.
while.
I think I probably echo some of the people. The regular Jura's not really the best, but whenever you get an indie and a single cask indie, generally I think it's a cut above. I'm not sure what you guys do to it that the distillery should be doing to it, but there you go. Probably not adding colour and other things to it, but they do.
Yeah.
I
Presenting it
found it very
naturally helps.
sweet. I found it very sweet. Of all the ones we've tried tonight, it's for me, it's like the more sweetest as well.
Yeah, it's very sweet. It's good.
But didn't we do a blind tasting on the Friday before a festival?
We did. Yes. We did one cup 2-3 years ago. We did a blind taste, and we presented it was a distillery cask Jura. I'd been to Jura and picked up a couple of bottles and put one of them in the blind taste. So it was an official Jura bottle. There was people swearing blind it was Lagavulin and Beaumont and etc. And there was a few embarrassed faces when we pulled out. It was actually a single cask Jura. It was good fun, that one. Was anybody there? Kind of looking around and see if there was anybody. Were you there, Andy?
I was. And I said I didn't like it, so I wasn't embarrassed.
Very good. Do you like this one?
I had a single cask, heavily peated. I think it was 15 years old, the same as this Jura from Milroy's, which was excellent. One of the best Juras I've ever had. Maybe it was the heavily peated element to it that really appealed to me. But some IBs that you get from Jura are really, really stick out.
What about this one, Andy? Do you like this one?
Well, I'll start off by saying that I've never had a bad old malt cask. And this still keeps it going. So I've never had a bad one. Jura-wise, I wholeheartedly agree that core range is crap. Sorry.
I never said that. I never said that.
No,
I did. I think I did.
Some people were telling me as well, try some of the old stuff. So I even tried Superstition and things like that, and it just didn't get to me. But indie bottlers, Juras, actually, there's a lot of good there. And this is actually quite nice. I would say it's probably bottom of the barrel of what we've had tonight, but it's still very nice. So I'm not a Jura convert, but yeah, it's perfectly drinkable.
Daddy?
Hi.
Are you almost done?
He's got one more to go.
Sorry, I didn't know if you heard that. I'm on.
Stephen, what do you make of it? I think you like a bit of Jura, don't you?
With old school Jura.
Old school Jura.
That's down to the kids. There's some good Juras and lots of bad Juras. I think it's all very hit and miss. From what I understand, it's because of their cask management was always terrible. They just chuck it in whatever barrel was hanging around. But yeah, it takes age quite well. There's some really good 20-year-old, odd-year-old Juras. This one's all right. Again, with Andy, it's probably the bottom of this selection, I reckon. It's nice, but
I think that was a nice subtle suggestion. I think, Stephen, that was a nice subtle suggestion to Paul that 20-year-old Juras are very nice, given he brought out a 1975 that was bottled in 1995.
There's one sure way to find out. We've always liked you, Paul.
Damien,
no, it's nice.
Damien,
it's fighting a little bit with the Dailuaine, I think. The Rioja is still sort of there, and the Jura is struggling a bit to get over the cherry-aidness of the Dailuaine as well was really nice, but I'm not sure how much Dailuaine there was left. But it was nice. I quite like fruity red wine casks, and it wasn't overly woody for me. But there you go.
Good.
Thank you.
I was shouting out for Damien if he's there. He's off camera, but he's usually got some good things to say about the Laing.
Damien's just enjoying the chat.
Is he? Okay, we'll leave him
he's
alone.
enjoying
Then.
the chat.
Very good, very good.
I did manage to get a 24-year-old Glen Grant at about the same time that you were trying your older one. I think you probably had a better one there.
Okay.
But yes, I'm just enjoying the crack and learning a little bit more about Hunter Laing. So thanks very much.
Good,
okay,
Damien.
should we go across the Sound of Islay and try the last one, Paul?
Yeah, so obviously Hunter Laing, I mentioned the origins of the company go back to 1948, blenders, brokers, 4-hour business lunches with handshake deals with companies that are now known as Chivas and Diageo and Edrington and what have you, and that's how we have the same deals with the companies that allow us to get these casks that we have just now. We don't have any contracts with these companies. It's all based on the handshakes over long lunches in the 40s, 50s, 60s and later. But the ambition of the family was always to open their own distillery. So November 2018, the first spirit poured from Ardnahoe distillery on Islay. And we bottled our first expression in May the 10th last year. The inaugural came out in May the 10th. Victor's got a bottle there. So that's the cask strength bottle that we're going to have here. So we brought out our first core release, cask strength release, just last month, I think, might have been end of October. 5 years old. It's at 60.9%. It's all first fill bourbon casks. I love putting this in a blind tasting because no one would possibly guess the age. It's 5. It just feels so much older. And it just does not drink at 60.9% at all. People whose palate I really, really trust, I give this to them blind and they guess it's like 50, 52%. This is all sold out. We're going to, as I said, this is now a core product. We're already bottling batch number 2 because it's just really, really gained a real enthusiasm and appetite across Europe, America and elsewhere that we've just simply not made enough of it. And I thought when we brought this out towards the last quarter of the year, when there's so much competition from distributors and retailers and so much available to buy, we've literally sold out of this. So I think I'm hopeful, Victor, but I need to manage your expectations. Ideally, we'll have batch number 2 for this in January. And even if it's not commercially available, I'll be able to bring a bottle down to Southport or 2. Batch 2 is going to be 5 years old. Batch 2 is all going to be first fill bourbon casks. And would you believe it's not 60.9%? It's actually a couple of points higher than that. I'm really keen to get people's feedback on it, just about, one, the quality of it, but 2, does it feel 5-year-old, and 3, does it feel 60.9%? Because I think I poured, where was I last? I poured about 4 bottles of this out over 3 or 4 days, and the feedback on it was just extraordinary, to be perfectly honest. So it's maybe not everybody here's a peat fan, but if you are, cheers.
Cheers. And we probably under-ordered this one. We bought, I think we got 3 cases of it and probably should have had 6 because it, as soon as it went on, it went out.
And listen, don't beat yourself up about it, because if I was being honest, what's the word I'm looking for? We underproduced it. We've got so much of this. We could have, our next batch 2, I can tell you, is twice the scale of batch 1. So we should have made more of it, is the bottom line. So don't beat yourself up about under ordering. So I'm guessing everyone here has tried Ardnahoe before. I know, Alan, you're a regular visitor and come at the festival, and people will have tried our core range expressions at 50%, which kind of harks back to our kind of family connection with Old Malt Cask and its release in 1998. They might have tried some single cask or cask strength whiskies, the Fesh Bottlings Manager's Edition. But this will be our constant, I say constant but not consistent. This will be our constant core release at cask strength, And the reason it's not consistent is every time we bring it out, it'll be a different ABV. And if you're drinking this next year or the year after, it's going to get a bit older as well. So we make no apologies for it's going to change over time. That's just what happens when you distilleries until they find the core range that they want to bottle their products at. So the previous core range products like Infinite Lock and Balsa, they'll eventually get to a stage where we bottle them at, I don't know, 8, 10, 12, 15. Don't know what the number's going to be. And the cask strength core release will be the same. So are you trying it for the first time, Peter?
I am indeed. Wow, that's 60.9%.
Yeah, you just wouldn't believe it.
That doesn't need water. That's mental. That's so refined and just really, really easy to drink. That's dangerous. Alan was actually sat in the mash. I think you tried it again, didn't you? When you were sat in the mash, Al?
Yeah.
When you popped out to see me the other week?
Just reminding me how good it is.
That is mental. Really nice.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't drink at 60% plus. No chance.
No. But it can cope with a lot of water as well, Alan. I don't think it needs water. No, it doesn't feel that strength, as you say. That's kind of pretty much the universal feedback I get. But the fact that it's 60.9% means it can cope with water as well. So, in fact, I might try it with a wee bit of water, actually.
I've just tried a couple of hops onto it, and it doesn't change it that much, actually. Not for me, anyway. But no, I like everybody else. It's if you'd give that to me and just said, "What do you think it is?" I'd have been saying, "Yeah, mid-50s at the most."
And even before Ardnahoe was built, and long before I started working for them, I always took the view that a good whiskey was a whiskey that felt older than the age on the bottle and didn't feel as strong as the ABV in the bottle. No, I think there's exceptions to every rule if that's a rule. But I always think that's kind of two measurements for me. And I think all the Ardnahoes I've tried so far would fall into that category. But this one it's like top upper quadrant of performance on it. I really think the distillery team have done an outstanding job in this, and I recognise I'm biased, and I've got so many reasons to like this, but I just, even if I can try and offload them and put them to the side, I just think the distillery team have just done a really, really outstanding job putting this together.
I mean, my tuppence on it, I've been to Ardnahoe once, and there's not a bad thing you can say about it. We did a tour and did a tasting and had lunch and looked at the view, and I think the family and the company have just done an exceptional job with the distillery and the whiskey that comes out. I'm a big fan of it. Right back to, I remember a Southport festival maybe 4 years ago. You brought a little 200 ml bottle for us, which had been in PX, and I shared it with a bunch of people, and they were like, "Bloody hell, what is that? That's amazing!" And I think it was maybe 3 years old at the time.
Just 3, yeah.
Yeah, and it really got everybody perked up as to it's a an early look at Ardnahoe, and I just think you've done a great job with it, and it's, out of all the whiskey tonight, it's probably my winner.
Yeah, and listen, if you don't know anything about Ardnahoe, just a quick story. Well, just in terms of flavour, it was built with flavour in mind. A lot of your flavour character comes from how the distillery is built and the production process, obviously. But if you've visited the distillery, you'll see it's got the longest line arm of any distillery in Scotland. And then we condense the spirit in 77 metres of worm tubs, so that all that copper contact has been designed to get fruit flavour as much as possible into the spirit. And what we wanted to do was make a typical Islay single malt, typical peated Islay single malt, but one that was different from all the others, because why would you copy one of the others? It's easier to actually copy another distillery than what it is to make something different from the other 8 that were producing at the time. So our point of difference is, on the nose, it's typical Islay, peated Islay single malt, but on the palate, you get fruit flavours first, and the peat comes at the back of the palate. Whereas other really, really good Islay distilleries that I love, like Caol Ila and Laphroaig and Lagavulin, it's peat first in the palate. Sometimes that puts people off, and then the fruit at the end. Kalila 12 is a classic example for me. It's peat and smoke first, and pineapple at the tropical fruits at the back of the palate. We get the fruit flavours in first, and then the peat comes at the end. But the peat then feels quite soft because the fruit dominates it. This is the same ppm as Kalila, Lafroy, Lagavulin, but it doesn't feel the same. The peat feels a lot softer. So, cheers.
So I've saved.
I'd love to.
Sorry,
I'd love to bring batch 2 down to Southport if I can in January.
Please do. Please do.
Victor.
And if it's bottled and in cases, then fill your boot as well.
Yeah, well, even if it's bottled and it's not up for sale yet, I'd still like to bring a couple of bottles. So it'll be tight because just we're not going to get it out before Christmas. We'll definitely get it out in January. Whether it's ready for the 17th, we'll wait and see. But I'll do my best, I promise.
Thank you. So I've saved Mr. McGinty till last on purpose because he's been sitting there diligently making notes and tasting this lineup. What's your opinion of the 6, Steve?
The 6, okay, well, okay. Well, the Ardnahoe is lovely. I really like it. I mean, it's a delicious dram. I guess it does taste a bit older than you think, but not a lot older. I mean, my favourite of the night was the Glen Grant. That was just, I think that knocked everything out of the park, really. Then it'd be the Ardnahoe, and the Dailuaine. I'm a sucker for a red wine cask, I am. And I had tasted that elsewhere, and I wasn't so sure I'd like it, but I spent a bit of time with it. Just a lot going on. Loved it. So I think the last 4 were my favourites. The Jura was great. That tasted kind of almost like an old school whiskey.
Yeah,
it was lovely. Yeah. So those last 4 were stunning. Really enjoyed them. The first 2 were great, but the last 4, yeah, different level. Love them.
Thank you very much. So, well, let's go around the room. We've got to the end, and let's have everybody do a little summary. Go on then, Paul. You've just come off your mute. What's your
we normally do a top 3, but it's been a really tricky one because there's not been a bad one. Well, there never is a bad one among them, but you normally have it. But I've got a top 3 with a wild card in the 4th place, like a joint 3rd place. So I can't split. Well, for me, the Tamdhu is always going to win, especially with a PX finish on it anyway, because that tends to be anything with a PX in it is going to win in my book anyway. And I've got a bottle of it as well, so I've got to say that the Ardnahoe 2nd, that was pretty spectacular. Shame it's sold out, but that's such is life. But yeah, that is fantastic. And again, would never have guessed that's nearly 61%, which is crazy when you think about it. But yeah, the 3rd, I can't split the Dailuaine and the Jura, even though they are 2 radically different.
Yeah,
they are both equally as good. So yeah, I've got Tamdhu, Ardnahoe, and then 3rd place, the Rioja and the Jura.
no.
Thanks, Paul. Kevin, how are you getting on with the? We saw you midway through. How have you finished?
Yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to you all, and there's a lot of excellent whiskies there that I've obviously not partaken of the tasting, but again, quality tasting, Richard, Victor, and for you, Peter and Paul, who's done it again. Excellent evening, listening to everyone.
Cool, Jason. Where are you at with this lot?
He's gone.
He's gone, is he?
Toilet break.
Go on then, Alan. You're on point.
Well, I mean, I've got to real soft spot for Ardnahoe anyway. I've been to the distillery about 4 times. I've drank a few expressions, so the Ardnahoe was probably my favourite. But that Glen Grant is just sublime. To drink like an aged Glen Grant, like I've had some old Glen Grants, but nothing that old. But the one that surprised me was the Glengoyne, drinking the bourbon cask, and it was nice to drink something different that you don't normally drink. But the Dailuaine was, that's up at Bakewell, and that's a cracker. I do like a red wine cask. I must confess.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much, Chris, Mr. Lodge.
For me, the Jura, because I've only ever had the only Jura I remember drinking is at the start of my whiskey journey, and it was supermarket shelf Jura, and it was crap. But that Jura was really nice. I think you could give that Jura to anybody and just say, "This is a really, really pleasant whiskey," and it was. It wasn't overbearing. There was nothing other than it being a really nice whiskey. That I don't think there was anything there that was overcomplicated. It was just a nice whiskey, and surprised me because I'm sure we've done Juras in other tastings. We must have done, but I don't remember them. I only ever remember the one rubbish Jura that I had. That was a really nice surprise. That second one was just give me torch on. Was the Glengoyne. I think that was a nice whiskey. And then the third was the Glen Grant. I think that was very nice. The red wine cask. Just chuck it in the bin.
You've said enough. Stop there.
And the last one, yeah, really nice, pleasant whiskey. But I think it felt on the nose. It certainly seemed young to me. But it was a lovely whiskey. But I didn't really. I wouldn't have said that it was an older whiskey. I thought it was a young, nice, fresh whiskey. And then what was the other one? Whatever it was. It's number 5, probably. Or 6, I don't know. It's not number 6. We know what number 6 is. It was a red wine.
Very good. Thank you.
Apart from the red wine, they were all lovely whiskies. Thank you.
Jason, I hope you washed your hands coming back there.
And it's all right to go and sort of cat out.
Come and give us your top 3 and your kind of summary.
Yeah, I enjoyed them all tonight. Probably most difficult, probably the Jura, really. Didn't get a lot from that one, but yeah, I mean, top 3. The Glengoyne, really enjoyed that. That's probably my number 1. And then the Ardnahoe, Dailuaine, Glen Grant, enjoyed all of those. Probably enjoy them all bit different on a different night, really. But yeah, the Glengoyne was probably my favourite.
Good. And you up at Kendal this weekend?
Yeah. We're going up tomorrow, and then do our own thing tomorrow, and then Saturday we're there during the afternoon. But hopefully no earthquakes, though, eh? So,
hopefully not.
Earthquake in the lakes, wasn't there? So
it's all that fracking they do, apparently. I'll see you Saturday then.
Yeah. Look forward to it.
Andy?
I'm going to go for my favourite of the night was the Tamdhu, then Glengoyne, then the Ardnahoe, which I'm happy about. The Ardnahoe, to me, it's a young dram, but it's not a 5-year-old dram. It's not a 60% dram either. It's really good. It's nice and smoky, not medicinal, so it ticks all the boxes. I mean, the Glen Grant was gorgeous, and there isn't a bad one tonight at all. To be honest, it's a whole top shelf tasting. So thank you to yourself, Victor, and to Paul on this one. It's been really good.
Excellent. Thanks, Andy. And are you coming down to Kendal or not?
No, you'll see me next month down at Southport.
Excellent. Look forward to that. Okay, who else we got? Mr. Hunt, have you held court?
I have not. I have not. I appreciate you leaving me till last though, because I had Advent admin duties to do, didn't I? So I appreciate you leaving me till last. I'm with Andy. I think the Tamdhu was absolutely belting. Really, really good. I have a soft spot for Dailuaine, and I was surprised that it wasn't like overly tannic and like overcooked. It was really, really nice. So the Dailuaine is probably gonna have to be in there as well. Can I just say all six? Is that not just easier? Because it's Hunter Lang, right? When have we ever had any bottle of anything that Hunter Lang ever released that has been meh? They're all belting. So
okay, I'll let you off with that. That's a broad, sweeping statement that I tend to agree with.
I mean, Victor, what Pete was saying there about we haven't had a bad bottle. I mean, we still keep on going on about the Southport Kalila, the old malt cask. Time and time again, it comes up in conversation, on the group chat, etc. So
we should probably do another Southport Hunter Lang bottle, really, shouldn't we? It's been a while.
It has been a while, and I'm not sure why we haven't, Mr. Main.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, listen, let's have that chat on Saturday in January, and yeah, scope for that. It was funny because I had never heard of the Kalila bottle that you had done, and then when I started going to Kendal Whisky Festival a few years ago in Midlands, and everybody started mentioning this Kalila that I had never heard of, and I think Brian from Cumbria sent me a sample. Then eventually managed to get a bottle through Scotch Whisky Auction. So it's great to hear because I'm an old malt cask fan. It's great to hear people's stories about my favourite old malt cask was X, a Glengoyne or a Kalila or a Mortlach or whatever. But there's a real legacy and heritage about that bottling. So yeah, if we could do something similar again, that would be great.
There's quite a high bar to keep up with. We'd have to I think sample a few to make sure we got it right.
Yeah, we need to get a good collection of casks and try and pick a distillery that's going to hit everyone's sweet spot. But what I liked about the feedback there, Victor, was there was something for everyone. A real mix.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, it's gone 9 o'clock. I know you've got a bit of jet lag there, Paul, so don't want to keep you for too long. Is it? Go on, sorry.
So just very quickly, for those coming to Kendal at the weekend, this will be under the table. If you were a member of the Ardnahoe Society, which you can just sign up and give us your email, you might have got the Society bottling last year, which was a mix of 5-year-old Ardnahoe. 50% of it was from PX quarter casks, and the other 50% was from Oloroso quarter casks. The 2025 Society bottling is coming out on Wednesday of next week, and can only be bought for the distillery, so it's not something we do through retailers or distributors anywhere else. But I'll have this under the counter on Friday and Saturday. So this is the new one coming out at 61.1%, still 5 years old. And the difference we've made with this is that instead of it being 50-50 split of PX and Oloroso quarters, it's 40 PX quarters, 40 Oloroso, and 20% bourbon quarters. So all quarter casks, but 3 different types. So it's going to be £90 a bottle, which actually feels quite expensive with the 15 and 16 and 14-year-old bottles that you're offering tonight, Victor. But if you're going to be at Kendal tomorrow or Saturday, please say hello and please give me the tap on the shoulder and remind me that you want to try this.
Excellent. Thank you for that shout out. And
I'll have to drink it before Jason gets there. I'll have to get there before Jason because he'll just drink all that.
It's Donna. It's Donna that drinks it all. I'm not there till Saturday anyway, so you'll be all right.
I'm there Saturday afternoon. I'll see you there.
Will do, mate. Yeah. Look forward to it.
Look forward to seeing you guys.
Anybody get anything else you want to add, ask, or shout up about while we've got Paul on the call?
Glengoyne was my favourite.
Oh, Stephen, did I ask you I did shout you out, didn't I? I'm okay.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But the Glengoyne was head and shoulders for me above the others. I was a bit disappointed by the Glen Grant. I was really looking forward to it, and it kind of let me down a little bit.
Oh, that's a shame.
But there you go.
That's a shame.
It was nice, but the
Victor,
Ardnahoe's
just
lovely. I think it's better with a bit of water.
Victor, off screen, take a view of how much appetite there is for the Glengoyne. I don't know how many bottles you've got left, but we've got one case left. So if there's an appetite for using it up, get back to me and I'll make sure it's yours.
Okay. Messages in our chat. If you fancy a Glengoyne, we'll put a message into Paul tomorrow. Thanks for that shout, Paul. Okay, let's wrap it up. Thanks as always, Paul, for sending the whiskey down and taking the time out to join us and talk through it. I'll finish with
pleasure.
The way I started. It's always good to talk to you about whiskey. So look forward to seeing you at the weekend. And thank you everyone for joining in. It's been fun.
Yeah, top drams. So thanks very much for that.
No, thanks for the company, Victor. And you've got a good group going there, and I know you've kept it going for a long period of time. So more power to your elbow, and keep that going. We need people like you and groups like this to be supporters and advocates for whiskey companies like ours, but many others as well. So no, well done to you, and look forward to seeing some of you in Friday or Saturday.
Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. Good night, everyone.
Right.
Cheers, guys. All the best.
Yeah.
Catch you all later. Cheers.